Hi everyone, thank you for clicking on this video in which I'll be looking at the definitive edition of San Andreas and comparing it to the original release. If you haven't, I recommend watching the video that you'll be seeing on your screen right now, as it covers the definitive edition as a whole, which includes of course San Andreas, Vice City and GTA 3. But today, I want to simply cover San Andreas, specifically as I believe this is the most flawed of the three remasters. So I'm going to be setting this video up into categories, where we're going to compare the original to the remaster to determine just how bad this remaster really is. We'll be taking a look at the graphics, the gameplay, the glitches and bugs, how it actually feels to play in the world itself, and looking at a couple other factors as well. Now, before we discuss the majority of the video, which is the negatives, I do feel like we should mention some positives. That seems only fair. So the controls are much improved from the originals. They kind of sucked in the original games because they came out in the early 2000s, so the controls were pretty standard for the time, but nowadays they're really not good. So modernizing the controls, definitely a great choice. Also, adding in autosaves to the game was super helpful, although GTA 3 and Vice City didn't get this feature, which is a bit strange. I don't know why they didn't add it for those, but having a GPS system was another really simple addition that I think helped the game and made it feel a little bit more immersive as well. But as we'll see getting into this video, it didn't really do much for the game overall. And that's sort of it, unfortunately, for the positives. And I know you didn't click on this video expecting to hear a lot of positive comments about the definitive edition, so let's get into the main portion of this video. Firstly, let's compare the graphics. As we can see with the games side by side, the remaster technically does look better, but there are clear ways that the original is still superior, at least to me. Look no further than the character models. The lighting is arguably better in the remaster, although it has moments of just being really bad in some cutscenes. The original was released in 2004, so you would definitely expect the graphics to be bad by today's standards. I would argue that GTA as a series has never really been known for having amazing graphics, but immersive gameplay and really interesting characters and stories. In saying this, I don't think it's unfair to expect a little bit more than this. Side by side, you can tell which game is more recent, but does that necessarily mean it looks better? As I mentioned, characters look incredibly off in this game. Graphics wise, I would say that the game is probably worse. At a simpler level, yes, the original doesn't look great, but at least it looks functional. This version looks really wrong and doesn't feel like it was made by a real studio. It is important to note that apparently they wanted the remasters to look like the originals, just with modern gameplay and better graphics. I'm sure they expected it to look a little better than it turned out though. For those who are unaware, they used a lot of AI on this game, hence why there's plenty of little details around the world changed or just completely misspelled. Most of these issues have been fixed, but some still remain to this day, unfortunately. Gameplay is of course the most important part of arguably any game. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the gameplay has been improved for the most part. The controls are much better now, but I think that's the only massive difference. Animations and the feel of cars and bikes is still a little weird and pretty different in this game, I would say, arguably worse. I'm not sure if that's just me or not, but San Andreas feels quite different than the original, which I have to assume is intentional, but I'm not too sure that it works. Animation wise, it looks fine, but still not particularly up to par with other games out right now. Comparing this to other modern games we're driving, you can tell which game has better animations. I don't really think the whole trying to make the game feel like the original thing is really valid here, because the driving doesn't really feel like the original game anyway. Again, that might just be me. Outside of the driving, walking around, just general movements like running, punching, kicking, jumping over walls, all looks sort of strange. Again, this could just be a weird perspective thing, but it just doesn't work for me. It looks worse than the originals. But again, all the animations here are just super strange. Let me know in the comments what you think about the gameplay of this one, because in the remasters, I feel like it is sort of strange. Feels a little out of place when you're just playing the game, especially when you compare it to the original. The original just feels a lot smoother to play. I'm not too sure why that is. Glitches and bugs are very common in gaming nowadays. We see plenty of projects released way too early, leading to plenty of refunds and bad reviews. The GTA trilogy was no exception. Wanting to get the games out for GTA 3's 20-year anniversary, the release was rushed. Unfortunately for Grove Street and Rockstar, they had no excuse for these glitches and bugs for a couple of reasons. Firstly, they were remastering 20-year-old games. This means they should have gone into the originals, found glitches, and made sure they wouldn't be present in the remastered versions. Secondly, they'd actually been working on these projects for a couple of years. Now, to be fair, Grove Street Games were the creators of this and Rockstar the publisher, as far as I'm aware. Rockstar had very little involvement in the actual creation of the games, strangely enough. Grove Street have a very vague number of employees on their website, but we know it was a very small company, so they had to make 3 games, so this is mainly Rockstar's fault. Old glitches from the originals remain, and plenty of brand new ones have emerged, whether it's weird character animations during cutscenes, falling through the map, dark lighting in these cutscenes, misplaced textures, or issues with being able to progress through the game. This remaster has plenty of glitches and bugs. Thankfully, most game-breaking ones have been fixed, but if you hop on the game now, it's almost a certainty you'll experience at least one of the things I previously mentioned just now, which definitely sort of impacts how immersive the world of San Andreas really is. Finally, the world itself. How does it feel and compare with the original? Unfortunately, not all that well. At launch, there was no fog. This might not seem like the biggest issue, but you could see the entire map, which would have diminished its feel and made it feel much smaller than most of us really thought it was. This definitely impacts how immersive the game feels, so they did fix this luckily. This game doesn't really feel like San Andreas for a couple of reasons. Plenty of the music is missing, which I know technically isn't really the fault of the developers, at least not Grove Street. Rockstar has plenty of money, so they probably would be able to license this music again, but maybe there's something behind the scenes we just don't really understand there, so I'm not going to be too upset about that, but it just doesn't really make the game feel the same. Every game now feels the same as well though, however. GTA 3 was dark and gloomy, Vice City was bright and sunny, and San Andreas had bright blue skies in the city and orange dusty looking skies when you were in the more deserted areas. But now, as I said, every game just looks the same sort of light blue sky during the day, and during the night it's just dark, right? Every game just looks the same, and it removes the identity from each of them. As of now, it seems as if not just San Andreas, but the whole collective of the remasters has been more or less abandoned with no real updates as far as I'm aware in 2024. It's super unfortunate because the original version of these games was so special to so many people. Despite being super disappointed, I actually don't hate this game. I appreciate the small modern changes they tried to make and understand the difficult situation Grove Street was put in. It is unfair to be mad at them, but I definitely think we're definitely allowed to be disappointed at what they were able to achieve because it wasn't much. Again, Rockstar is mainly to blame for this. They definitely should have been more involved with this instead of focusing so much on GTA Online. Thank you all for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you actually think of the remastered version of San Andreas. Is it better or is it worse? Consider subscribing for more GTA videos like this. I hope you have a good day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks everyone.